right, so when you first log into your Legito, into your account, you're going to end up in your dashboard. Your dashboard, the first time you log in, is going to be very similar to this. And basically, you're going to have an onboarding template here where you can go through, you can watch a video, a quick guided tour, a full guided tour, right, and personalize your account. So you can do all of this. But most of you, when you first go into Legito, you're going to want to create a representation agreement. That's probably why you're going here in the first place. You need a form and you need that representation agreement. So how do you create representation agreement? Well, there's a couple ways you can do it. Here from the dashboard, if you scroll down a little bit, you can see you've got representation templates, you've got transaction templates, buyer inquiry templates, and miscellaneous templates. And that's how we've divided up the forms and categorized them so that to make them a little bit easier to find. So in representation, if you need a representation agreement, you can get it here and just click on create. That'll start the process. Also, up here next to your dashboard, you have templates. You can go to templates. And again, you have representation, transaction, buyer inquiry, or miscellaneous. Or you can also search for a template. And if you type in just rep, you've got seller representation, buyer representation, agency disclosure. So not sure why agency disclosure came up other than it's attached to a representation agreement. So let's go back to your dashboard because that's where you're going to be starting from typically. But we'll go down here and we'll say, okay, here's our seller representation agreement. Let's create. Now we're going to walk through and just create a seller rep agreement. You can see my test account here is Brandy Broker, but for purposes of getting membership information and all that, I have to enter in my actual email address. So we'll do that and click on Get CAB Member Info, and it's going to go over to CAB's website, and it's going to pull my member name, DRE number, phone number, and populate that. Okay. Now, for our purposes here, let's go ahead and put in my DRE number for LA Business Pros and the address, and I'm just going to copy and paste this in to make it a little bit faster. And I recommend you just have like something you can copy that's typically on your desktop that you can just open up and copy and paste from, because it'll just make life a little bit easier for you since this stuff has to be entered most of the time anyways. One of the things we are going to do, by the way, though, is see if CAB on the back end, if PES can actually add the brokerage firm DRE and address so that when we click on get membership information, it can also pull this data for you. But right now we can enter this in. All right, so let's say for this rep agreement that we're preparing, we're going to have a broker fee, of 10% with a 25,000 minimum. And our termination date is going to be, let's make this a year roughly. So we're going to terminate this May 31st of 2024. Now our business name, for our purposes, we've just got a fictitious business that we're setting up here. So we're going to deal with Sam's Sporting Goods. Okay. His legal name is actually, it's a corporation. So we're going to go with Zykes Corp. And it is an S corporation. So we can click on the little arrow there and select S Corp. It is a retail sporting goods store. So say retail, sporting goods. And the corporation is registered in the state of California. The address is 100 Main Street in any city, California. So we'll just put that here. We don't need the comma there. And the zip code, let's just say 90014. Sam's phone number is 310-555-1212. He doesn't have a fax. And his website is samsportinggoods.com. So we'll just put that in here. Now, we've got 2 authorized signers. So for purposes of this business, we've got Sam Roberts, and he's the primary contact we've been dealing with. And so we're going to go ahead and put him in here. And he's the CEO of the company. And he just wants everything to go to his address for the time, or to the business address. So we'll just copy and paste that in. Right. And the same with the phone number, because the phone number, this is actually Sam's phone number, Sam's cell phone anyways, because he doesn't want calls going to the business store or to the business. All right. And then Sam's email is sam@samsportinggoods.com. So we'll put that in. And then Sam's wife is also involved in the business. So we're going to click this button that says add an authorized signer, because she wants to sign all. We want her to sign the rep agreement as well. And so that is going to be Sadie Roberts. And Sadie is the CFO. Okay. And then again, we can just put this information in here, copy and paste. Sadie's phone number is 310-555-2233. So we'll put that in for her. No fax. And her email address is sadie@samsportinggoods.com. So if we have another, let's say we're dealing with a corporation that has 3 partners or 4 partners, you can keep clicking to add an authorized signer. Like if we do that now, it gives us another set of blanks where we can fill out this information. If we don't want it, we just click on the X and it disappears. Okay. So now on the rep agreement, now we need to know, are any liabilities going to be assumed? Are Sadie and Sam anticipating, do they have anything that or any liabilities that a buyer would need to assume? And in this case, they do not. So we're going to say no. Are they willing to carry a note? Well, they've said yes, they'll carry a note for 10% of the purchase price. Listing price is $500,000. Since they're going to carry a note for $50,000, the down payment is going to be $450. Oops. There we go. So as you know, the total listing price, the down payment, liabilities to be assumed, and the balance, the note to seller, all of these 3 have to add up to the total listing price. So if we have a note for $50,000, that's going to be payable at, they said they're willing to carry for 3 years, which would be 36 months at 10% interest. And the note would be payable roughly at 1613 approximately. Yeah, 1613.36. Okay, and you can go to bankrate.com or actually just Google loan payment or payment calculator. It'll give you that. Okay, so as we go down, there's no cash involved in the listing price, but there is inventory, and the inventory is worth roughly $150,000. Okay. And that's included in the purchase price. There's no receivables, prepaid expenses, or other current assets. So we'll just leave it that. There's no real estate included in the transaction. So we click no. There's no earnout included. So we just leave this alone. Seller will not compete against buyer for a period of, Sam says 5 years is fine. Within its retail, so you can't have a ridiculous radius. So he's saying within a 10-mile radius, and that's fine. Training is going to be provided for roughly 4 weeks at up to 30 hours per week. And basically, Sam and Sadie, sellers want to retire and relocate out of state. Okay. So seller directs a broker to advertise a business at a different price than mentioned above. And in this case, yes, Sam and Sadie want the business to be advertised at $549 in the hopes to give buyers a buffer for negotiation in the hopes that they can get the $500,000 that they're looking for. And let's see. If there are assets of the business being excluded, how do you want to list them? So what this does is give us the ability to, what did I do there? What this does is give us the ability to leave a blank that we can, when we send this over for them to look at, if there are any assets that need to be excluded, they can enter that into the blank. So they can fill that in, because at this point, maybe we don't know, haven't had the conversation with them. A lot of times that ends up being, their personal computer or desktop or laptop. Sometimes it's office furniture or artwork. So it can be a variety of things. So generally, I just leave a blank that can be filled in later. You can also exclude it from the agreement, or you can provide a description. If you've already had the conversation, you can say, okay, they have personal vehicles that are on the balance sheet, and they have a laptop computer and some artwork in Sam's office. And those are not being sold with the business. Okay, so that can be entered in. Any additional terms? Let's say they've been dealing with somebody named John, a friend of theirs or a competitor, whatever, John Jones. And John has said he's interested in making an offer. And so they want you to reduce the fee if John actually buys. And so you say, okay, fine, but let's put a time limit on it, because the last thing you want to do is market the business for 6 or 8 months and then have John decide that he's finally ready to put in an offer. So you agree with them and say, okay, well, if John Jones makes an offer to sell within the next 60 days and ultimately buys the business, then the commission will be reduced to 8% instead of 10% with the $25,000 minimum, or, whatever the terms are. So that's what we're going to put here as an example, because this whole thing is just an example. All right. Is the agreement subject to an attached addendum? In this case, no, it's not. So we click no and we save. Now that you've saved all your information, you can do a few things. Okay. When you click the arrow next to this, you can do a print preview. You can send it by email to somebody to review. You can save it as a new document or add it to your favorite settings. We'll deal with these later. Typically, what you're going to do is just do a print preview and take a look at it, make sure everything looks right. And that way you can adjust anything that doesn't. So you'll notice when you go into print preview mode that you also get a disclosure regarding real estate agency relationships. And the reason for that is because it's required by law, by the California Civil Code, that before a seller or simultaneously, when a seller signs a listing agreement, enters into that listing agreement, they also must have an agency relationship disclosure provided to them. And you can see here that we've got Sam Roberts and Sadie Roberts waiting for their signatures. And then you can see that I'm listed here as well. Okay. Second page of, and as we scroll down, so that's the agency relationship. Now here's our rep agreement. And it's completed all the information in here. It's very clear what you filled in because it's in blue. So it's very easy to see the form versus the data that's been entered, right? And as you scroll down, you can look for anything that is incomplete. Most of this is going to be on the first page. So what you'll notice, let me go back and show you an example of what would happen if something was incomplete. So let's go back up here and let's take out Sadie's, let's take out her address information. Okay. Well, we can leave that. So let's go ahead and save this again. And now we're going to do a print preview. All right, and the representation agreement is what we're looking for. So you can see here that where the information is incomplete, it has a highlighted dots. And anytime you see this, it just tells you there's something that needs to be completed still. And you can go back and do that now, or you can, close out and go back and do that later. Doesn't matter, but you're going to need to make sure that something is completed before you send this agreement to be signed. Okay. And that's really it. That's how you create a representation agreement. And the beauty of Legito is that it makes it very easy to go in and change things. Once this has been, we saved this. So now if I go back to, let's go back to the dashboard, you'll see that I have Sam Roberts, a seller representation agreement for Sam Sporting Goods. Sam Roberts is my primary contact. Also, though, see this arrow here, you can click that. It's going to give you more information. So it's going to tell you the seller name is Sykes Corp. That's the legal name, right? The business name, Sam Sporting Goods. And it's going to tell you the representation agreement date here, which is really handy because later on we may need to create an amendment. So without opening the form, you can just go, without looking at the details of the form, you can look at these key facts and say, oh, okay, the agreement date was 5/31/2024. That was the ending date, not the agreement date. So we'll have to ignore that and get that fixed. But that was the agreement termination date.